How many of you have a habit where you can tell that something triggers it and you end up going into almost like an autopilot, doing behaviors that do not serve you? And you would love to interrupt that trigger, like to take natural action in a way that serves you. Give me some other examples in the chats. Okay, I'm so glad you said nail picking. That is like a textbook area that this works so well. If somebody does nail biting or nail picking, there's a trigger there. Smoking. This is a very powerful technique for smoking. Usually when someone smokes, there's a moment right before the trigger. Another example that I'm remembering from a live demonstration that I guided years ago, was a woman who would clutter. She would just hoard. And she had, entire rooms in her house that were just filled with stuff. Her parents had passed away. They had transitioned to the other side of the veil. And she had kept all of their stuff, and she was not able to let go of this stuff. So letting go of stuff was a problem, and it was a bad habit. So what we did is we guided her through this process. It was a huge transformation. What ended up happening is she ended up getting rid of the stuff, donating stuff, selling stuff, all of this. Even one of our crew members went to her home and supported her with this. It was immensely liberating. Emotional eating, that's an awesome example. What we did with the gentleman is we found that the trigger was literally for him the moment he touched that doorknob to the kitchen. By the time he touched the doorknob, it would launch a sequence of events. So what we did is we found out how he would like to be instead. And we created a vivid internal representation of how he would like to be instead. Internal representation means pictures, sounds, and feelings in your mind's eye. So let's say that we constructed that in an empowering way, and we literally guided you to install it at the moment right before the trigger. You can work with this on smaller things that may seem small, or you could apply it to bigger areas, where the end result would be that you'd get triggered by that thing that used to launch a sequence in a disempowering way. But now, through the virtue of what you're experiencing this month in SIIA, when that trigger happens, instead of it launching a sequence of disempowering actions, i.e. the bad habit, it's going to launch a sequence of empowering actions. So now we have a clear understanding of what is happening in our being in the old state at the moment right before the trigger, and we have a clear representation of how we'd like to be instead. Is everybody clear on what the Swish is? It's a technique that's going to interrupt an old pattern right before the trigger and create a new empowering neural pathway. Got it? Why this is so valuable. It's so valuable because imagine having a tool at your fingertips that can dissolve any old habit. Now remember that the mind is made up of representations. So we're interrupting a representation that doesn't serve and installing one that does, that creates momentum towards that bright future.